Cloak and Dagger is a simple and popular hero, as most people would say, but there's a lot more depth than you think, such as hitbox manipulation, or changing your hitbox completely depending on who you start your ultimate with to mix up your opponent. So today we have KG joining us for the one tip series for this hero.
Hi guys, my name is KG. I'm a one above all strategist player, mostly playing and making Cloak and Dagger content.
But first, let's start with the general tip first.
An important general tip is to get into the habit of swapping forms back and forth to reload quicker. It increases your total healing output by quite a bit over the course of a game.
And with that, let's get it started.
Against Cap, you can't kill him, but your best method to survive and waste his time is to stay in Dagger form and use your primary fire in close combat to utilize the healing splash to continuously heal yourself. Use your Dagger Storm if you have it, and when it gets dangerous, swap forms and use Dark Teleportation to reposition. Against Doctor Strange, work on your reaction time mechanics to quickly swap to Cloak and use Dark Teleportation to phase your team out of his ult when you see him dropping down. If you're not in the stun, you should still try to use Dark Teleportation afterwards to potentially save your teammates from the Eye of Maelstrom. If you get ulted by GROOT, using your Eternal Bond can free you from the root, and it can immediately put down the healing for the rest of your team still caught inside. GROOT players will continuously wall off your teammates, so this is also a reminder to bounce your heals around it, and throw your Dagger Storm against it if necessary, because it can still heal anyone as long as they're touching the bubble. Hulk needs to jump and be close range. As long as he's not in his ult, hard pocket a teammate as best as you can. Sitting in Dagger Storm or one dash of the ult should be enough healing to sustain anyone getting jumped. Magneto players are getting smarter and are now looking to one-shot you with his ult when you use your ult. One way around this is to use your ultimate from the sky, which I like to call Comet Tech, because the dash will still be placed on the ground below you. Use your Dark Teleportation and go as high as you can, then use your first dash to cover most of the fight. Then use your second or third to get into cover depending on how late he's ulting, and then play in your fourth dash until you get your Dark Teleportation cooldown back. PENI can one-shot you with her mines as a counter to your ult, so similar to Magneto, use the Comet Tech to ensure a safer ultimate. Against Thor, adjust your positioning and ensure you play near your other strategists and peel for each other with your heals. You can also obviously use Dark Teleportation to phase your team out of his ult. The timing is fixed, so it's very easy to do. Against Venom, the only thing you can really do is use your Dagger Storm and use your primary fire in close combat for the self-splash healing to survive as long as possible until help arrives, or until your Dark Teleportation is ready to reposition. Against Black Panther, keep your Dark Teleportation for yourself, and if Black Panther approaches you, use it and reposition on a high ground to mess up his ability rotation. If he's still going for you, use Dagger Storm and primary fire non-stop as Dagger at close range to heal yourself from the splash as much as possible to stay alive. For Black Widow, always play behind cover and jiggle peek or bounce your heals if she's playing with a Mantis or a Storm to avoid the damage boosted one-shot. If you're in the open and need to get into cover and you don't have Dark Teleportation available, one thing you can do is melee as Dagger to manipulate your hitbox. When you ult against Hawkeye, their first instinct is to shoot Dagger to one-shot you. But did you know your hitbox changes depending on who you start the ultimate with? That means you can mix it up and start the ult as Cloak first and bait the Hawkeye into whiffing his one opportunity to instantly kill you. The HELA matchup is straightforward and generic. Just play behind cover and jiggle peek to keep your team alive. I would say though, if you have your ult available and you're using aggressive dashes, you can definitely use your last one to get into her face and challenge her in Cloak form. For Iron Fist, I wouldn't waste cooldowns trying to run and isolate yourself, because he has enough mobility to continuously chase. Your best bet is to sit in Dagger Storm and constantly shoot him as Dagger to self-splash heal. Only swap to Cloak when he's trying to run away to finish him off. Against Iron Man, you can help poke him down as Dagger. When he ults, obviously phase your team out with Dark Teleportation. Magik only has one vertical ability, which is Umbral Incursion. So try playing from high ground if possible, and if she initiates on you, drop down, swap forms and teleport back up. Against Mr. Fantastic, he isn't really threatening damage-wise, so it's just generic tip of pocketing someone getting punched. Or if he's up in your face, continuously damage him as Dagger while getting splash healed. Moon Knight's ultimate got crazy buff, but it's technically still possible to reactively swap to Cloak and use Dark Teleportation to survive. An easier option is to instantly press your ult in response, which can also give your team some instant healing to potentially get you out of range in time. Against Namor, you cannot use your Dark Teleportation when you're within the range of his ult. If you don't have your ult, your best bet is to put down your Dagger Storm and get out of the center circle. If you do have your ult, you can use it quickly to escape its range. Against PSYLOKKE, one single dash of her Eternal Bond is not quite enough to tank a Zolo Dance of the Butterfly. Assuming no one else is shooting you, the way you survive is 1x dash plus Dagger Storm, 1x dash plus 1x teammate, 2x dashes. Scarlet Witch is funny because you actually have a very similar damage to her as Cloak. You can easily win with Dagger Storm up, or if you use Tarot Cape. Always try to kill her first when she's ulting and use Dark Teleportation as a last resort. Against Spider-Man, do not panic into Cloak form too early. Stay as Dagger and constantly shoot him even throughout his uppercut to make use of the splash healing. As you're coming back to the ground, that's when you should use your Dagger Storm. Then swap to Cloak and try finishing him off before he swings out. When Spider-Man ults, you can also free yourself with your own ult. Against Squirrel Girl, again, you can use your Eternal Bond to free yourself from the Acorn route, but it's not an ideal response in a lot of cases to waste it like that. You can generally increase your chances to survive by instantly putting down your Dagger Storm and bounce some heals off a nearby teammate to offset some of her follow-up damage. When Star-Lord is flying around in the sky, you can help your teammate to poke him down as Dagger. When he ults, use Dark Teleportation and find cover ASAP. Against Storm, a single dash of your ult is enough to offset her ultimate damage. Communicate with the team to not stack 2 defensive ults and tell them to sit in your dashes and focus her down. Against Punisher, you don't need to stack more than 2 dashes in order to survive him shooting your face with his ult, especially with realistic movement and strafing. When you include the seasonal team up 15% healing bonus, 2 dashes will give you just over 500 HP per second. Beware of Winter Soldier's hook and swap to Cloak if you see him winding it up, especially if you're standing in your ult so you can teleport out in case it happens. Your best play against Wolverine is to just spam heals on the kidnapped teammate. Throw your Dagger Storm and pocket them as hard as you can. Adam Warlock isn't really a hero you interact with as you're playing in the opposite backlines. Couple of niche tips is to maybe use a final dash of your ult to get really aggressive in the enemy backline if you notice he has disappeared because he's hiding for his ult. You can also chase him with your Dark Teleportation when he cocoons. If the enemy Cloak and Dagger ults first, I will usually wait a few seconds and use mine more aggressively into their backline so it lasts a little longer than theirs. If I ult first and their Cloak and Dagger is waiting a few seconds, I'll opt for more defensive dashes. It's all mind games. I think it's definitely worth it to use the Eternal Bond into the Invisible Woman's ult. I'll usually dash through it and leave some of my dash trail outside of the enemy team's side because your dashes last way longer, and they will usually back off when the invisible ult ends. Best tip against Jeff's ult is learning the timing. You have to listen for the bell jingle, and that's when you use Dark Teleportation to save your teammates from being swallowed. When you use Eternal Bond against Loki, you can get real aggressive and try leaving one of the dashes close to him, or one of his clones, to ensure they take the damage over time, and it helps to stop Loki from getting away with his stealth because he'll instantly be kicked out. Additionally, you can also catch an invisible Loki with your Terror Cape. Against Luna Snow, the more important macro thing to remember is Cloak and Dagger's ultimate builds faster than Luna's, and you should be using it more proactively rather than as a response to her ult. So you can aggressively use it and sit in your ult as Cloak and focus the Luna and hopefully get her to panic ult. That's a good ult trait, because your Eternal Bond will be back up faster than hers. Unlike the Luna ult, Mantis uses her ult similar to yours when it's more of a proactive ult, so here you can just match hers if you hear it. Against RACCOON, his ult is a major damage boost, and smart players will try to burst you down while you set up your dashes in Eternal Bond with their new damage breakpoints. I'd probably keep the combat tech in mind.
And that's all the tips. Thanks KG for joining us, and I'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for having me, KarQ, and thank you everyone for watching. If you guys want to see more Cloak and Dagger action, you can find me at twitch.tv/kg and youtube.com/kg.